Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of the Nurtured by Nature podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined in conversation by the incredible Eleja SunStar of the Sanctuary of Sophia, and a beautiful little Aminita mushroom who also had some words of wisdom to share with us all. In this inspiring episode, Eleja shares her amazing journey from a workaholic in the busy world of corporate marketing and event planning, who reached a place of burnout before finally taking the leap to leave her hectic life to follow the nudges of her deep knowing that there was more to life. Since then, her life has magically unfolded through sacred pilgrimages to connect with her own ancestral roots and her shamanistic calling to connect her more deeply with her sacred relationship with nature and Mother Earth. We discuss the simple but profound experience available to all of us by finding the courage to claim what's calling your heart, and how a beautiful army of beings equipped with their ancient nurturing wisdom in the form of plants, trees, and wild creatures are patiently waiting for the opportunity to be heard so that they can guide and assist us once more. We explore the indigenous wisdom of our lands and the need for reverence in our relationships with nature, and a remembering of the sacred reciprocity towards Gaia. But mostly, we are urged by the Fae to remember the magic that connects us all, and in attuning with the earth, we are being asked to bring our love and the healing sound of joy and laughter to the world at this time. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Eleja, to this episode of the Nurtured by Nature podcast. I'm really excited to be talking to you. I've just felt this connection to you for the last few days, and I'm interested to see where our conversation flows today. But I just get started with all my guests by asking them a little bit about their nature story. So it's quite open, whatever really nature means to you or has meant to you during your life. And yeah, if there's anything that you'd like to share about nature, that would be lovely.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much for holding this beautiful space. So excited to share and connect with you. When you bring in the frequency of nature, the first feeling that I feel in my body and that connection is nature has always been a sanctuary for me throughout all of my life. And I believe that I really started to connect more deeply into this beautiful sanctuary space, which is nature, which is Gaia, when I was in high school, actually, because my parents went through a really nasty divorce. And in the middle of my freshman year of high school, my mom got remarried and I had to switch schools from the school and the home that I had lived in my whole life. And I moved to another town and I was away from all my friends and in a neighborhood that wasn't really nature friendly. But what was such a blessing was right behind our house, there was a metro park. And it was a beautiful trail. And so I could walk to the park from the house. And so I kind of felt like hostage at times at the house because I was in this new environment that felt really unsafe and unsettling and so much new. And so I would go to this park. It's called Sand Run. It's still one of my favorite parks. And I would go there and I would walk these trails and I would be immersed in nature and I would listen to my music and I would walk in these trails and I would just feel so at peace. And it was literally like my sanctuary. And I'd go there every day to just walk and be with the water that was coming through. And it really taught me so much about myself. I did a lot of self-reflecting. And from there, my love story with Gaia just continued. But that was really it was really a sanctuary and a safe haven for me when I felt so alone and disconnected from so many things. And it just allowed me to go so deep. So it's a sanctuary. It always has been, still is.
Yeah, I think I think that's similar for a lot of people, isn't it? Probably people that are generally more sensitive, and they struggle a little bit more in our sort of hectic, commercial, consumer-driven world, that they do find these spaces in nature. And like you say, it can be quite a small space, but it just allows you to sort of come home to yourself, doesn't it? And I think, I don't know, I mean, it's sort of like there's something in our DNA, isn't there, that like we just immediately feel safety and security. It's like this echoing back to our sort of ancestry, where we just feel at home, I think, don't we? And we feel held by these beautiful spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. It's intrinsic to our makeup, as part of being human and living on this earth. We are so deeply connected. And I feel like so many people can relate to just being outside and just feeling the actual presence of life, right? Like we're always in all of these boxes, and we go from one box to another, right? And
Yeah.
for me, like I'm so deeply connected to nature, and like I am making my way back to tribal living and to really being outside more. And I really feel it's a part of my own experience of what I'm holding and carrying to really connect more deeply with the earth in those ways, because I always feel so much better being outside, and I would spend all my time outside if I could. That's the goal.
Yeah, you touched on it there, and I know I've seen it on, I'm not sure, on your social media, but you do actually have sort of indigenous ancestry, don't you? And you've been deepening into that sort of wisdom of well, your ancestors, really, isn't it? Over the last few years, haven't you? Having had quite a sort of, I guess, an upbringing that was quite removed from it. And then you went on a bit of a pilgrimage, didn't you? If I don't know how
Yeah.
recently that was, but yeah, I saw that you said you went on a pilgrimage to
Mm.
sort of your ancestors' homelands.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I went in August. On my mother's side, I have indigenous blood, and she told me about it when I was a child. And ever since then, like it was just calling to me. I said, I have to go, I have to go, I have to go to those lands, to the reservation. I have to see. And so, yeah, after many, many, many years, it all came together where my sister and my cousin on my mother's side, the three of us, the circle, we
Wow.
went. Yeah, we went to the Mohawk Akwesasne Reservation, which is where our great grandparents lived. And it was honestly one of the most deeply magical shamanic experiences of my life. It was this just everything that came in, the hawks greeting us as my sister and I departed Ohio to go meet up with my cousin in New York, and just everything, the connection to the river. And it was deeply humbling to be there and to really connect to that way of being and existing. And it unlocked so many pieces for me. And since then, I'm really deepening into that because I'm living full time in an RV now, which is something I never thought I would ever do ever. And it was a divine download that came in last year that guided me and my sacred partner to begin living this lifestyle, to get into deeper right relationship with the earth and with the
Yeah.
lands, because we're grid workers. So it's been a really intense initiation, but also really beautiful to be immersed and to remember what it's like of how we impact the earth and how much nature serves us as well.
Yeah, I think I feel like more and more there's this beautiful space opening up for that indigenous wisdom to actually uh, kind of retake its place in the world. I think that's maybe the best way to say it. I know one of my favorite books that I read was The Beautiful Braiding Sweetgrass, and she talks so much about her indigenous past and the wisdom that she was handed down about our relationship and our place amongst the plants and the earth. And I find that that's like a really important theme, I think, as we're trying to find our way forward at this time in the space that we're in, trying to reposition ourselves to nurture the earth in a better manner than we have been. Um, so I'm really, it's lovely to hear that you actually have that kind of ancestral connection, and you're able to bring that into our culture at this time.
Mhm. Yeah, sister, it really is so important. You're reflecting something so beautiful because we have become, as a collective, so disconnected from our mother, from Mother Earth, and we're coming home to her. That's what we're moving through this collective ascension. And it's so important to really connect with the earth because of our what it means for our own personal connection. And this is the time, right? The prophecies have all prophesized about this time. And I love what you brought in about the plants, because the plants have a huge role in what humanity is moving through. I mean, even if you look at what's happening with plant medicine, because I'm a plant medicine oracle. And so I am an advocate for the plants and working with them consciously. And there's so many people who are finding healing within plant medicine, whether that's in like psychedelic medicine or in just living a more plant-based lifestyle, or working with herbal teas and things like that to support their body in that beautiful purification process. But with that, it's just so important to honor and recognize that the plants are also alive and they're guiding us
Yeah.
if we can just attune to their frequency and listen, because there's so much wisdom that streams through the plants. And it's all part of this beautiful tapestry we're weaving. It's
Yeah.
just about tuning into it.
Yeah, I've had my own sort of little dabblings with plant medicine. I think it was probably one of my horses who was quite ill, and traditional medicine didn't really have any answers for him. And I guess he sort of initiated me into to plant medicine, and I'd have these amazing times. I'd just take him out, and we'd sort of wander along the sort of roadsides and the paths, and he'd select what he wanted to eat and how much he wanted to eat. And then I'd be like, go away and look up what the plant was and try and learn more about it and understand why he was selecting it, like trusting that he was selecting what he needed, but trying to then understand what it was helping him with. And from there, I also went on to work with flower essences, and had some amazing experiences creating some of my own essences as well. And just having the time to sit and sort of meditate and tap into their wisdom, and just the amazing sort of synchronicities that would happen. I created one essence, and as I was walking away from creating it, I like cut my hand. I was like, oh, okay, so that's going to be good for wounds then. And it's just amazing, isn't it? The wisdom that is there all around us. And I guess we have to, I think it goes back to what you were saying about nature being a sanctuary, and actually we just have to listen, don't we? We have to relearn that ability to listen, and also I think realize that they are beings, don't they? That they do have this own intrinsic life force, and they have things that they can share with us.
Mm. I love your story about your experience with your horse. That is just, I mean, that's it right there, right? Of just being so in tune with your horse, because horse medicine too, the medicine that horses carry is just so powerful and
Yeah.
beautiful. And I feel like there's so much power in medicine and what you just shared around trusting your animal and then listening to the plants, because they're communicating and being guided, and even like how that can show up in our own lives. Of right now, like I'm working with rose tea, right? I'm really connected to the rose. And so she really helps me soften, but she's also really strong, and she
Yeah.
supports my feminine embodiment, right? And there's so much wisdom there. And I think it is truly about coming back home into our hearts and like tuning out the noise, because there's so much noise, even just physical noise pollution,
Yeah.
and being in stillness in nature if it's possible, as much as it can be possible. I know when we're living in towns and cities, it's difficult. There's a lot of noise pollution, but that's why I love the night so much too, because everybody's asleep and nature is so still, and I can just tune in
Yeah.
really deeply.
No, I think roses, I know from sort of essential oils, like the rose is kind of this amazing oil, and it has incredible properties to heal, like very deeply, doesn't it? Deep sort of emotional wounds in the ancestry as well. So I think it's fascinating that actually at this time, as you're connecting back with your indigenous ancestry, that you're working with the rose as well, and the wisdom that she's giving you.
Yeah, and connecting so deeply to the womb, right? The rose is so connected to the womb, and there's so many, the rose lineage, right, of like that womb wisdom. And you think of the earth and her womb and all of the wisdom and codes and just incredible beauty that is stored within the cosmic womb of Gaia, and that is accessible to us, especially as women who can really tap into that through our own womb sovereignty. And yeah, the plants are here to help us with that. It's such a beautiful process. Mm.
Yeah, they are incredible. I think if we sort of circle back again, because I think you have quite an interesting past as well, because I think sometimes people kind of feel like people like you were kind of almost like you've always been like that, and actually you've you've got quite an interesting story, haven't you, where you were like seriously in the corporate world for quite a long time, and it's just more recently that you've felt to answer the calling in your heart.
Yeah, that's a great point. I wasn't born into an awakened family where I was initiated from child. I mean, I have gone through my own personal initiations, but yeah, I was an event planner from the time I was 19. I worked for a nonprofit and just gained experience and went to college full time and was in that grind. And then I went into the corporate world after that, and I did trade shows and all these international events and all this stuff. And just all the things, corporate marketing, managing teams of people, and all of these really intense experiences that really elevated me in my leadership, because I've always been in places of leadership. However, come 2018, I was reaching a point of burnout, and I was deeply unhappy with myself. I was the classic kind of codependent empath, because I've
Yeah.
always been a really sensitive person, like we were kind of talking about in the beginning, earlier, just like around being sensitive to nature. And um, yeah, and I was always very spiritual and connected, and I always had my own sort of special relationship with God and spirituality through nature. Honestly, a lot of that had to do with my connection to nature. And there was just this voice coming in over and over: quit your job, quit your job, quit your job. And I was like, what am I going to do if I quit my job? Right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? But I was so unhappy. I was addicted to caffeine and sugar. I was really unhealthy. And I had no time for myself, and I had no boundaries, and it was just workaholic. And then actually what happened was, one day I could feel it coming, and it was just like this invitation from God's source. And I was like, okay. And I just walked in my boss's office and I put in my notice, and I felt this wave of energy come in. And that weekend I camped for the first time in like years. And I spent 3 days out in nature, and I had really deeply shamanic experiences with the plants in a way that I'd never had before. A week later, I surprisingly and unexpectedly met my sacred divine union
Oh.
partner. And the rest is history. And it was this journey of, then I was called to Charleston, South Carolina for my whole life, and I just knew it was like a soul calling to live there, and I had planned to move there. After I quit my job, I said, I'm moving to Charleston. I'm just doing
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
then I met my partner, and we actually went there on like a vacation spontaneously on our third date. It all worked out, and while we're there, he's like, we should move here. And I was like, yes,
Good job.
thank you. Thank you for knowing that we're doing that. And then,
Yeah.
we moved in a few months. And then as soon as I got to that grid and I got to Charleston, which is right, we lived on an island in between two rivers.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
there's very deeply indigenous land there. And really sacred ancient trees, angel oak trees that were there. And as soon as I got there, it was like I came online and I started activating my psychic and medium gifts. And then it was like, you're a healer, and all these things opened up. And that's when ayahuasca called me to Peru to sit with her. And then that is really when my shamanic initiation began as a medicine woman. And then I've been on the path ever since. So it was like, I always knew that there was more to
Yeah.
me and more to my life and to my soul's experience than what I was living. But it took really big leaps of faith to be able to actually allow myself to have that
Yeah.
experience. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell
I
how
think
it's evolved.
there's two things I was thinking when you were talking then, and the first was I was thinking actually how powerful it is that you've had that experience so that you have that direct understanding to relate to people who are in that corporate world. You know how that corporate world operates, so it means that you can bring the wisdom that you're bringing through now. You can also relate it to the people that are still in that place and can speak to them from a place of knowing and understanding, which is incredibly powerful. So I think it's obviously was meant to be a part of your journey. It sounds like maybe you stayed a little too long and your health was suffering, but I think that's also common for a lot of us, isn't it? Because it takes a huge amount of courage to do what you did, to say, I don't know what's on the other side of this. I have no idea what the next step is going to be, but I just know that actually I've got to take this step now for me. And so yeah, I just want to say, like, I know that's a hard thing for people to do, and there's a lot of people that will be sitting in a similar space to you, I think, at that point where they are feeling like life is a real struggle, but the fear is too much to step through, and that's okay as well, isn't it? It's like, you've got to do it in your own time and when and as you feel called, and also just be gentle with yourself that it is a hard step to take, to trust when you haven't really done that in your life before.
Thank you, sister. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that intuitively, there are so many people right now who are desiring to connect more deeply to their soul and to being able to live their soul's desire. And I know that for me, even when I was in that experience of working all the time, like nature was still my sanctuary. I would go out and go for walks on my lunch break, right? It's like that's what I would do. That's how I would spend my time as much as possible. And it really helped give me the perspective I needed. And the beautiful part is, if you feel like something is calling you deeper, all you need to do is declare and claim your path, and it will come to you. So it will magnetize to you if you come into your heart and you say, like, I am claiming the path of my soul's desires and my highest timeline. Everything will begin to come together for that. Now, of course, there could be some fallout from that because, right, when we surrender into our higher expression, all that is not aligned with that will fall away. And so that's when a lot of people go through these processes of, dark night of the soul and things like that. But they're so necessary, and it's so worth it, because I can't imagine still being in that space. Like, I'm more me now than I ever have been. And I'm still making those leaps of faith,
Yeah.
just in different ways, So it's like being present and trusting. If you're getting an intuitive nudge to do something and you feel it in your body and in your heart, it's okay to trust that, because there is a path that's coming to you
Yeah.
for what you're desiring.
Oh, that's beautiful. really beautiful wisdom for people who might be sitting in that place of sort of insecurity. They can hear it, but they're trying to turn the volume down on that nudge that they're getting. But yeah, and you've mentioned a few times about your shamanic journey. Now, I know some of my listeners probably might not have much idea about shamanism, and I don't know if you want to just speak into that a little bit about your experience journeying into that and what it means to you.
Yeah, sure. So shamanism to me is really about coming home to the earth and to God through the right relationship and connection to source of all that is that created the earth, and living in harmony with the earth, with the plants, with the animals, with humanity. And really, it's about reverence, and it's about listening to the intuitive nudges that you receive of where to go, what to do, like walk this way, take this path. It's a really beautiful, magical experience when you can tap into a shamanic lifestyle and cultivating that, because like I shared how my pilgrimage was like the most shamanic, amazing, like 3 days, or it was like 4 days or something of my life.
Yeah.
It's because I was fully present. So living shamanically is also about being fully present and being attuned to the earth, because then you're weaving your medicine with the earth and she's also guiding you. So it's like the synchronicity is a synchronistic experience is a very shamanic
Yeah.
experience when, you're getting the download to go here. And then all of a sudden, you see 111 on a license plate, or a
Yeah.
song comes on that is really connected deeply to you. And you have this visceral like experience in your body of just like, wow, like I'm in flow, like I'm listening, like I'm present. And there's real magic, because shamanism is ancient magic and it is very accessible. We just have to come back to presence, come back to our hearts, and truly have a desire to want to experience it through a lens of reverence. And that's really all we need, is reverence and appreciation for this planet holding us. And all of these gifts will come in from that. So like giving offerings to the land you live on is a really simple practice you can do to just say thank you. Thank you, Mother Earth, for holding my home, for holding my family, for keeping us safe, for giving me this provision, and giving an offering of even just like a prayer, or it could be a little gift. It could be sacred tobacco. It could be, flowers, like something like that, to just build that relationship can change everything, because then you're living in harmony and you're treating the earth as a conscious being, which she is, and then she can support you even more deeply and create more miracles in your life. So it's been really humbling and beautiful. And I think a lot of people are coming back to wanting that connection, because it's intrinsically in our DNA, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I think that was just beautiful. I love I think the term reverence is just such a powerful for word, isn't it? And I don't think we use it nearly enough, actually, do we? It's not really that commonplace in our vocabulary. And I love what you said, just to people, just to as a way to start bringing that more into their life. So, just do these simple little acts and moments of connection to the earth. And I guess, and that comes back to the plants as well, in the same manner. There's sort of prayers and conversation, I guess, is opening up this dialogue, isn't it? And realizing that there are beings and wisdom there that you can tap into and speak to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful, sister. Exactly. And developing conscious relationships with even the trees that are on your land, and or the river that you go to, and you connect to the spirits of nature and the ancestors who walked that land, and just asking the tree if you can sit with the tree and receive the strength, putting your back up against a tree and connecting is so powerful, and it can be really activating for you and like the wisdom that you hold. So a lot of the awakening experience is like having those connections to points in nature that are holding certain frequencies in medicine for you. And so it's no accident, like if you're drawn to certain places in nature, like there's probably gifts waiting for you there. And if you can just attune and quiet your mind and open your heart a little bit and ask for the gifts and give back in sacred reciprocity, so much can open up, and you might get a download in about your next step, about what's the next move that I need to make, what's the practice that I can do to help align me more to what, you know, I'm desiring. And nature really holds space for us for that. So there's so many gifts. It's just like intending and
Yeah.
being present and being open.
I just thought I have to, you were mentioning trees, and I thought I have to share with you I've got this beautiful tree that I've sort of been a custodian of for just over a decade now. And he's an old English oak tree, so he's several hundred years old. And I've spent hours and hours sitting with him over the years, and actually it's really amazing. So his some of the bark started to chip off, and it's chipped off in this perfect heart shape, and now he's got this huge heart like halfway up his trunk on one side, which is like the first thing you see, is because that's the way you approach him, is always on this side. And there's this beautiful, like literally you couldn't have carved it better, and it just literally appeared over time. And when people come by, they go, you know, they're around for a little while, and then they go, oh my god, the tree has a heart. And I'm like, yeah, he just, you know. And I was like, I kind of feel like he's kind of felt like how much I love him, and that's, you know, his way of showing it. So yeah, it's
Mm.
they're beautiful beings to be around and work with.
Wow, I'm really just feeling into that tree's energy, and I can feel how deeply your connection is. And that's amazing with the heart and his expression coming
Yeah.
through in that way. And yeah, I had some really, really deep connections to some angel oak trees when I was living on the island in Charleston that I would sit with that are hundreds of years old. And they were kind enough, like as I would sit with them, there would be like a piece of bark that would fall that they gifted me. And I keep it in like a little box on my makeshift altar to just like hold them and connect with
Yeah.
them, because I miss them so much. Like I saw them every day and connected with them, and they held me so deeply. And yeah, trees are just some of the most beautiful, wise, and powerful beings. And
Yeah.
it's really special.
Yeah. And I think like you said, what's amazing is that actually you will always hold their energy with you, even as you move away. You can still connect to and draw on their wisdom.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all about the relationship. When you have that authentic, solidified relationship, it's like you're good.
Yeah.
And even sometimes I'll even look at pictures of them or videos, like if I'm really being like if I'm really missing them, because
Yeah.
there aren't any trees like that around here. And so sometimes I'll go through and I'll look, and it'll just connect me, and I'll feel like that resonance, and it feels like I'm just back with the tree. So it's been really helpful.
Yeah, because they become like friends, really, don't they? Actually, when you connect with them, you sort of you do bond with them like a friend. But I think you mentioned the word resonance there, and I know you touched on it a little bit earlier as well, about the sort of the ley line. Well, that's what we call them in this country, ley lines, and the sort of energetic grid. I know you're about to embark on another, is it pilgrimage? Would that be the right term for it? Another pilgrimage to to some exciting places. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what you've got coming up as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really, really excited. My partner and I were about to leave in just a few days. Actually, we're going to be embarking upon a soul pilgrimage to the Badlands in South Dakota here in the States. And South Dakota and the Badlands and the Black Hills, that area holds really deep, ancient shamanic magic that are connected to the shamanic grail lines, which are basically like the original shamans and medicine people of the earth. that have incarnated there. That's the homeland of White Buffalo Calf Woman, who is a Sophianic Grail Queen. She's a holder of like the Rose lineage, and she's really that divine feminine leader. And so she's been calling me there for a long time, and she's been preparing me for the work that we need to do with that land. And so there's been a culmination of experiences happening. And this is a big reason why we moved into the RV, is to be able to go and take this pilgrimage there. And it feels almost like a soul homecoming. Like there's a lot there for my partner and I to retrieve from the earth, because the earth grids, when you think of like the grids, like places on the earth, they're storing a lot of shamanic codes and magic and energy and frequencies that our soul is connected to. So that's why I always say, like, if people are like really called to go certain places, it's like, yeah, your soul has pieces there that it needs to remember and to help support you in your path. So go to those places. And so, yeah, we're going to be going there, and I'm so excited because she has invited me to hold these shamanic immersions, initiations, and in-person experiences while we're there. I have no idea how long we're going to be there. It's just until the work is done, and we're going to be staying there and traveling the lands, walking the lands, and really connecting with the earth. And I feel like I'm stepping into a vortex that's calling me home. It feels so deep. And I've traveled through those lands as a kid. Like we drove through them on like a cross country thing, but we didn't stop. And so I don't really remember, but now it's here, and it's just really exciting. I can't wait to connect with the earth and see what is there, because there's really, really deep medicine there that I'm excited to be able to bring forward that hasn't been unlocked yet. So it's a really, really exciting time.
No, it sounds incredible. I think we've always had oh, well, in the UK, we've obviously got quite a few sort of sacred sites, and we've got our ley lines and things. So there's quite a lot of knowledge around those sort of energetic linkages that connect around the world. And so I'm excited for you to to see what's going to come forward from your journey over the next sort of, well, however long it's starting and where it will take you. But yeah, I think there is just so much need right now, isn't there? We are trying to find this new path for our societies, that just a way to honor everything, even ourselves. I think even going back to like what you were saying about your corporate role, and the fact that you were almost making yourself ill, and like in society we say that that's all right. Just kind of suck it up and carry on. And I think there is just this need to honor everything, isn't there? This honoring ourselves, honoring the callings in ourselves, being much more aware and reverent for the world around us. And I think the teachings that you're tapping into from the more indigenous cultures and lifestyles, where that was their way of life, wasn't it? That was how they existed on the earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And nature heals us. When we work with the earth, we can be healed. Sometimes when I'm feeling maybe overwhelmed or just carrying a little bit too much, I'll literally go and just lay on my back on the earth for even 10 minutes, and I'll feel completely rejuvenated, because I ask her to please help take what is not mine to carry, because I do a lot of processing for the collective. So as a medicine woman, it's just part of my role to like process collective grief and collective rage and anger and all these things that we're going through as a collective. And so sometimes it's just too much, and I'll go and I'll ask her, and she'll take it from me and she'll transmute it, and then I don't have to carry it anymore. And I'll feel so much better. My physical body will feel better. My mental, my mental health, my emotional, like all of it. So there's so much healing there for us. And I think especially because so many people, are in survival right now. I mean, it's a really difficult time for humanity. And so coming home and getting outside more and connecting more, like get outside and get sunlight if you can, is so important. And just kind of getting outside because of, just even from screen time and things like that, like nature is so healing. And taking time to unplug, like about once a month, I'll unplug for even just like 3 or 4 days. I would do it longer if I could, but it's just not
Yeah.
really an option. But unplugging from everything is just like a reset, and it's so powerful. And sometimes that's all we need for a fresh perspective and to be rejuvenated so we can continue on. So making the time for that self-care with nature is so important to our well-being right now.
Yeah, I think it is more and more important, and I think there's some interesting science being done as well that's actually like beginning to like show in a scientific manner what we're talking about, of how being in nature does, that you mentioned the word resonance earlier, these sort of, I mean, we're quite used to the fact how electricity works, and that it is, wavelengths and vibrations, and actually that the whole of nature is like that. And when we spend this time in nature, we actually are like, it's allowing ourselves in our body to like align themselves with the resonance that they should be on, really, rather than they're kind of all messed up and crazy, and they don't know which way is up, and it's allowing them to just get back into that more natural frequency where we feel, I guess, healthier, and our bodies can cope better. Um and yeah, I think there is just, when you were talking, actually, I just come back to that, and you talked about how nature offers us healing. And I know, like, part of the reason I started my podcast was a lot of people who care deeply about nature feel, we're bombarded in the media by the fact that, I don't know, it's too late. The scientists have these like sort of global warming like levels that we're at, and we're getting to the point that we can't reverse what the damage that's been done, and people feel overwhelmed, and they think, what's the point? And I was just wondering if you had anything to share about actually the resilience of nature, and how I think she has a much greater capacity to heal herself and come back into balance just by giving her the time and space she needs to do that.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful question, sister, and beautiful reflections. I, to be completely candid, I do not believe in a lot of that fear-based ideology that is pumped through the media. And from my connection to the earth, she's ascending. So she is shedding layers and she is rising in her consciousness. And that's why we're all rising in consciousness and having conversations like this and tuning into nature more through that process. And I believe that through all of us coming together and living in more sacred reciprocity with the earth and being mindful of how we treat her physically, emotionally, connecting to her spiritually, all can be healed through God and through the miracle frequencies of Christ. I have seen it. And that's what a lot of the work that I do is, these grid work missions of going and doing this healing of the land and clearing, the trauma that's been placed on the land, whether that's through, toxic chemicals or through war or through other things that have happened. It's like, that's why all of the healers and light workers and medicine people are going and doing all of this work in service to the earth to support her. And that's why so many are called to coming back to the land, because that's what she's asking us to do. And I believe that's the process that we're in. And it's a choice point, like she's giving us a choice to come home to her, and we can choose to ignore that, or we can choose to say yes because it feels good. And like you said, when we're out in nature, like that resonance, that frequency, that's our natural state. So she's inviting us to come back to our natural state. And I think it's just removing a lot of the programming and a lot of the societal beliefs of like, go deeper into your screens and go deeper into AI. And it's like, actually, like, no, like we're being called back to the earth and to living more in harmony with that. That's what feels organic and natural. And through that, all things are possible.
Well, that's really beautiful. And I think that's what I've seen as well is like she responds to just sometimes even the smallest of gestures. I guess it's more because of the intention rather than necessarily, it doesn't have to be a grand, undertaking. It can be the smallest of gestures, and what matters is your intention and the energy behind it that is really the key to how you have your relationship with the earth.
Yeah. And even like, I know I'm talking about deeper things like going and doing land healings and stuff like that, but it's like you can heal the land by, if you see trash at a park, pick it up, take a trash bag. Like my partner and I are going to go do that. People just litter all the time. It like infuriates me.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. It's just like, I have no tolerance for it.
Yeah.
And so part of like, we're going to do a ceremony before we leave. We've been at this campground for like 5 months. And before we leave, we're going to do an offering for the land. We did some when we got here, and we're going to do a closing ceremony, and we're going to go pick up all the trash that we can find. And doing small things like that, she really appreciates that. And that just shows that you care. And like, even just saying thank you. And if you notice something that needs attention, being a good steward of the earth. So it doesn't, like you said, have to be these big elaborate things. It can be if you want to, if you're called to that, but it can also be something as simple as every day you just, when I go out in the morning, the first time I see her, I sing to her, and I have this song that I sing, and it's just like saying good morning to her and thanking her, and just like thanking her for being here. And it's like something as simple as that that's really helped me like connect to Pachamama and
Yeah.
that spirit, so it can be any way as authentic, as you want it to be based on your own understanding.
Yeah, I love that. I just have this vision of the birds as well. I'm like that's what they do. Like, the dawn chorus is they wake up and they're like they sing to Gaia. They're like, good morning, and they bring all their best tunes. It's just and then I have this vision of you out there with them singing your own beautiful song to her. So, but yeah, I love that. Because I think that's the thing. Sometimes in society we get overwhelmed, don't we? And we think because we can't go out there and do that grand gesture, or we haven't got the time, we haven't got the money, we've got plenty of excuses, and so we can fall in the trap of not doing anything. But I always try to find ways to inspire my listeners to just do the little things. So I love what you said, like, just picking up a little bit of litter is just tidying your little patch, whatever that might be, your street, your road, your little garden, just finding a way to honor the earth where you are, and then seeing where that journey takes you.
That feels so good in my heart. Yes. Yeah. And I think if everybody did that, what would happen?
Yeah.
Like if that awareness, if that conscious awareness could be activated within every person, whoo, like full body chills, like that would just be such a powerful thing it's the sacred invitation. And yeah, that's the message. That's the work, right?
Yeah, there's a fantastic sort of little garden movement, I suppose, that was started by an amazing Irish lady, and it's called arcing, and it's acts of random kindness. And the idea is basically to rewild a section of whatever part of the earth that you have stewardship over. So if you're in a flat, maybe you only have a window box, but if you're lucky enough to have a garden, then you offer it back to the earth and to nature, and you allow her wild native plants to come back and the native wildlife to thrive. And yeah, that just seemed to that came into my head, and I thought that just ties in beautifully, like these acts of random kindness, and where and offering that to the earth, whatever little things that you can do, whether even if it's you write her a little love letter and bury it in the soil, like it's just, there's so many things that you can do.
I love that so much. Yes, 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 yes to all of that. And there's definitely a plant movement happening, right? Like more people are really into plants, and they're like, why are so many people into plants? And you see like the Aminita mushroom everywhere, right? The red mushroom, right? With the white
Yeah,
caps. And it's
yeah,
like they're making their way through the mainstream collective, whether or not people understand what's the depth of what's happening. It's like the plants are calling us home as well, because when you work with the plants, they call you home deeper into yourself and deeper into the earth. And that's like this big, web that we're a part of. So yeah, I love that. That's just amazing that things like that are happening.
it's so funny you mentioned that mushroom, because actually my partner and I were walking in our local wood yesterday, and we have never seen so many of that specific mushroom. And they were like just literally like whole little communities of them, and like they popped up, and there was tiny little ones and then these much bigger ones. And yeah, so it's really interesting. I don't know if you have any wisdom around that particular mushroom, because I feel like it's obviously wants his voice heard right now. He's got something to share with us all.
Yeah. So Amanita is the like primordial mushroom. Like she is the mushroom mother. I actually dieted her. So something that medicine women, shamans do is they diet plants to attune to them and to be able to carry their medicine and have access to that. And so I dieted her at the beginning of this year and developed a really deep relationship. And it's amazing that she came up for you right before. That's really awesome. I love how things like that happen. Um, and this particular mushroom, she's very ancient. So like this is the mushroom that was once used by shamans like in Siberia, right? Like thousands of years ago. And also the reindeer used to eat this mushroom because they understood that it like produced them into like a more psychoactive state and allowed different experiences to happen. And so it's a very ancient shamanic tool. And she has a lot of really deep womb wisdom as well. And it's very subtle. So she's extremely magical though. So sometimes like she'll just pop up out of nowhere. So when you see, and she has different types of species and stuff. So like usually when she's coming in, it's an invitation to invite more magic into your life and to connect, because the mushroom itself is a very playful spirit. It's a very playful energy. And there's so like the mycelium family itself is so deeply connected to the earth and to the trees, right? Because they're all connected.
Yep.
So usually when mushrooms are popping up, it's like this invitation to go a little bit deeper into the unseen realms of the other world and into more of that multi-dimensional space where anything is possible, and you're connecting more to that. So yeah, she's making her way through the collective
Yeah.
for sure.
She obviously wanted to be a guest with us today, so I'm glad that like we allowed the conversation to flow so that her voice could be shared with everyone as well. Um,
Mm.
you've touched a few times on the divine feminine as well, and I think that's been a great wound, hasn't it, for our collective, the kind of the silencing. And I think obviously Gaia is the representative of a mother as well. So there is that healing of that lineage, isn't there, that also feeds into helping Gaia to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, the divine feminine is Sophia, which is the feminine aspect of God. It's that feminine energy, and that is Gaia Sophia as well. So there is a feminine reclamation happening throughout all of the women as we come into more of divine feminine leadership to really lead the collective and hold space for the collective, for healing and for that beautiful ascension process. And that goes hand in hand with the earth, because as she ascends, we ascend. And so it's this beautiful connection, and that cosmic womb of the mother as well, and that beautiful connection to life and the experiences that we can have when we rise in our divinity, truly as a fractal of God's source, and being here and being able to step into that path through that connection to the earth as well, because that's how my shamanic divine feminine path has unfolded, has been through the earth, because I hold earth medicine. So it's a beautiful way to really come into that path of reclamation, and it's available for all women. It's something that Sophia has assigned me to, is to be able to help all women come home to her sanctuary. That's why my mission is Sanctuary of Sophia. It's the divine shamanic container of bringing women home into themselves and into that connection with the Holy Mother Sophia.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I will put links to your website and your social media for people so that they can come and learn more about you and what you're doing, as it is absolutely fascinating. I I think the interesting thing is, with it though, is it's like, as we're healing the divine feminine, it's not just women though, is it? It's like there is that aspect in all men as well, and actually we're creating the space for them to reconnect and heal their divine feminine as well, that has equally been as shut off and silenced as women, who obviously hold sort of I guess we're being called to shine the light on it, to bring it forward and to heal it for the whole of humanity.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. A man that has wounded feminine energy is absolutely being called forward to heal that. Like, we all have masculine and feminine energy. And so healing that is so important to, like, being in that truest, highest version of ourselves. And yeah, absolutely holding space for the men as well to be able to do that, and them holding space for us to be able to heal our relationship to the masculine and to be in that harmonious balance within our own hearts.
Yeah. Oh, well, it sort of feels like we're getting to having had our lovely mushroom come and share her wisdom with us. I feel like we're getting to a stage to kind of wrap up. But I don't know if you have any other words of wisdom on your heart today that you would like to share.
Hmm. I just think that what's coming through this conversation is that there's a beautiful sacred invitation to connect more deeply through the heart space with the earth, in an authentic way of building that relationship to the earth in a way that feels aligned and exciting and magical, because the earth is truly a magical being that can really allow you to experience more of your own divinity and allow you to experience the magic that is here for you through your own life experiences. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think as you were talking there, I was thinking to remember like playfulness and fun as well. And I was thinking like there is such a heavy energy around the sort of negativity that is portrayed about the earth and the state of the environment and nature, and actually the need to reconnect to our sort of almost more like childlike qualities of playfulness and fun, and to bring that joy to the earth in our relationship with her as well, to for her to hear our laughter and enjoyment of just being with her.
Yeah, exactly. And that really connects to the Fae beings that are in the earth realm, that are the stewards of the earth as well, and connecting to that playfulness, because that is so important, finding joy in nature that is such an important part of the experience. And that's what she's calling forward as well. So it's a beautiful reflection, sister.
Oh, well, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. It has just been, I don't know the amount of times I've had goosebumps been talking during this conversation. It's just been beautiful to connect, from my heart to yours, to our listeners, to to our trees, our lovely oak trees, your angel oak trees, and our lovely mushroom as well, who wanted to join in. So I just want to thank you, to thank all the beings that have come with us today to share their wisdom. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sister. Such an honor to share this space with you. And I could just feel Pachamama smiling at this conversation and feeling so grateful. So thank you, sister.
Thank you so much for listening to the Nurtured by Nature podcast. I truly hope this conversation has brought some hope and inspiration into your life. I would love to have these messages ripple out across the world. So if you can, please share this episode with your friends, leave a review on your favourite podcast player, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I would love to hear from you, so please feel free to connect with me on the links provided in the podcast description. But most importantly, thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. But don't forget to simply get out there and enjoy the natural world.